Hello and welcome to another episode of the Confident Musician Show. You are tuning into 5 pro tips on help. I just keep sabotaging myself. I'm your host, Brett Cusack, aka Megalove, and I'm a musician, songwriter, music educator, and a life coach. And at The Confident Musician, we help you to overcome self-doubt and overwhelm and create more confidence than you ever thought possible so you can make music, make a difference, and share your unique talent with the world. If there's anything in this video that you find useful, valuable, interesting, please let us know in the comments. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. And if you know somebody who keeps self-sabotaging, please flick this video across to them or tag them in the comments. Alrighty, without further ado, let's jump into our 5 pro tips on help. I just keep sabotaging myself. Tip number 1 is, what are your actual priorities? Where are you self-starting? What can you do for hours and hours and hours and nobody has to remind you to do it? And where are you always being consistent? And this list will actually help you understand why you're trying to self-sabotage and comparing yourself to somebody else over there that's doing something that is actually not that important to you. So you can give yourself a bit of a break. It might not be what you would love it to be, but it is actually what is most important to you right now. And being true and honest with yourself is the most important thing that we can do to change things if we need to. Tip number 2 is, what delusion or fantasy are you comparing your life to? So as I mentioned in tip number 1, if we are looking out at somebody else in the world and then being like, I wish I should be doing this. I have to be doing this because they're doing it and blah, 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 blah. We're probably going to be making our lives very depressing and frustrated because we are not that person and they have a specific value system that's actually helping them do that thing. So tip number 2 is just to acknowledge that we might have some unrealistic fantasies playing out in our life to be something that we are actually not. And we can change our goals and we can change our values, but that's not what we need to do first. We just need to acknowledge where we are at. Tip number 3 is, where do you also display the opposite traits? So you are a whole human being, and when we're trying to deny part of ourselves, we might be beating ourselves up thinking that we should be something that we are actually not. So what you want to do here is like to say, okay, I might be self-sabotaging over here, but where am I learning and growing? Where am I self-actualizing? Where am I activating? Where am I being the true, authentic me? And I'll give you a tip. It might have something to do with the things that we discovered in tip number 1. So we want to acknowledge that we are self-sabotaging, but we're also growing and learning in another area. So this just helps us acknowledge that we're a whole human and we're going to be self-sabotaging throughout our life, but we're also going to be growing and growing in other things. So just acknowledging where you're actually growing as well. Tip number 4 is, what are all the benefits of doing the task? So you can only ever control 3 things: your perception, your decisions, and your actions. And most people are trying to make different decisions and take different actions without controlling the perception. So what we're going to do here is make a huge benefit list to help tip the seesaw in the direction of what it is that we want to do. Because we're self-sabotaging and avoiding some action steps that we know that we should be doing. It's just because that thing is actually not that important to us. And it may, subconsciously, we may have a story about what that activity might mean. It might have, it's definitely got more pain than pleasure, more loss than gain. We might lose money. People might not like us. We might get kicked out of the tribe. We might not get seen or heard. We might fail. So if we've got stories like that might be hiding underneath the surface, we're probably most likely to not do things in that direction. So our brain's primary purpose is to keep us safe. So if we've got stories and limiting beliefs keeping us stuck, we need to create this benefit list in order to change that story so that we perceive things as on the way instead of in the way, and therefore we've changed our perception, and then the decision making becomes easier, and then the action steps also become easier. So if we don't change the perception, we end up back on the couch with a pizza and a beer going, hang on a minute, I made a decision to change. But yeah, how many people, put your hand up, myself included, who's done that? Tip number 5 is to get a coach or mentor to help guide and inspire you along the journey, to help uncover some of the problems behind the problems and help you speed up the process. So that's why I've created my latest course, which is called Confidence and Happiness Secrets for Musicians, which has some absolutely amazing content in there. There's about $1,800 worth of value, including some video trainings on how to master time management for musicians, how to create rockstar confidence, how to write songs that stand out. There's access to our private Facebook group. There's a standout song scorecard to give you some realistic information to let you know whether your songs are actually any good. And you can get that on the link below in the description for less than the price of a packet of strings. I don't know how long it's going to be at that price point for, so make sure you get a copy as soon as possible. All right, let's recap our 5 pro tips. Tip number 1 is, what are your actual priorities? Where are you self-starting? Where can you do for hours and hours and hours and nobody has to remind you to do it? So just acknowledging that you might be self-sabotaging in some area, but where are you actually focused and diligent at the moment? And it might not be what you want it to be, but at least you now know where your priorities are, so we can change the goals to match the values, or the values to match the goals. Tip number 2 is, what delusions or fantasies are you comparing your life to? Just become aware of the people out there in the world that have a different value system to you, or different priority list, and they're doing the things. So just starting to acknowledge that you might be playing out some unrealistic expectations for you to do something that's actually not that important to you. Tip number 3 is, where do you display the opposite trait? Learning to acknowledge that you are a whole human being, and you might be self-sabotaging over here, but you're also learning, growing, you focused, diligent, organized in these areas over here that are actually most important to you. So just acknowledging that you are a whole human being, and you got things going that are going well and things that are not going well, and that's part of being human. You're always going to have these things all through your life. So just acknowledging that you also displaying the opposite at the same time. Tip number 4 is, what are the benefits of doing the task you're avoiding? If you're not doing something and you're self-sabotaging in that area, it's just not that important to you. By creating a benefit list, it just changes the seesaw in the direction of something that you actually want to move in the direction of. Tip number 5 is to get a coach or mentor to help guide and inspire you along the journey. It is going to cost you some hard-earned cash to invest in your personal growth, but it's going to speed up the process. And the good thing is, you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time. So many of my clients come along and at the end, when they're starting to get some amazing results, and say, I wish I did this sooner. So don't procrastinate. Get some help and support with whatever you're doing in your music career. It could be songwriting, could be music production, could be improving your skills as a singer, improving your skills as a guitarist, getting help with life coaching, getting help with mindset coaching, getting help with business coaching, and creating a business around your art. So I can help you with all of these things. Book a call with me on the link below this video. It's a 15-minute introduction Q&A, so we can have a chat about what your problems are, what you would love to be able to achieve, and see whether I'm going to be the right person for you to work with. It's obligation free, but I only have a limited amount of these calls every week, so book in a call as soon as possible. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you know somebody who is self-sabotaging, please flick them this video in a DM or tag them in this video. And if you have loved something or found something useful, valuable, or interesting, please let us know in the comments. Your feedback is appreciated so much. Until next time, my name is Brett Cusack, aka Mega Love, and I will see you on the next video. Boom. Make music, make a difference. Catch you later. Yeah.